Well, I'm blown away that you've made it this far.
Yeah, well,
I
that's the only reason I was in
Yeah, I
this.
couldn't do
Now
it.
that I've got that praise, I will quit.
See you later, guys.
This is all I've been doing this for. So take me back, Kevin. Take me back to baby Kevin. When is the first time that little teensy tiny Kevin Scarfboy Saunders first encountered the bag and pipes?
I think I was in 7th grade in West Jordan, Utah, and we were moving to Payson.
Yeah, finally, right?
And
West
we
Jordan,
saw,
seriously?
yeah, we saw on the class sign-up sheet, there's a bagpipe class, and I honestly wasn't quite sure what it was, but it sounded cool. And my mom really talked it up. She's like, "Oh, that would be so awesome." So I was like, "Well, I guess I'm doing this." And then we played with Victor Neves. That brought his tuba to play with our bagpipes. Do you remember that?
Yes. Oh, heck
So
yeah, I do. And my kids remember it too. That was the coolest night of their life.
It was awesome. He was my band teacher in 7th grade, and he was like, like you got to do this. And so I was locked in. I'm gonna go play bagpipes.
That's
So
really cool.
we moved here. I went to Don's class, and I spent that class the whole year sword fighting with my chanter. And then I dropped bagpipes and never looked back.
You monster.
And then 2 years later, what is his name?
Was he at White Peaks?
No, I was in the high school band. Anyways, I was doing something, and he's like, "Hey, you should
Oh, there was
come
a Clay.
play."
There was
Clay.
Yeah,
It
there
was
was a
Clay.
Clay in the band at the time.
He's like, "You should come play bagpipes," and he convinced me, and so I started playing, midway through the next year. I don't know.
Had you
That's
picked
when
up enough at the chanter class that you could just hop on a pipes at that point, or did you have to kind of work your way up to it?
Say that again. You cut out.
Had you picked up enough in the chanter class that you could hop onto pipes at that point, or did you have to did you take some lessons from Zach or something to get ready?
Yeah. I guess I remembered enough.
Yeah.
A lot of it was Kebot was the pipe major then.
Yeah.
And when I started, she, for the next 2 weeks, just instead of going to the band practice, she would sit in a room with me and we'd learn music together.
Oh, she coached you up, huh?
And so in those 2 weeks, I was able to figure it all out. And then,
Gotcha.
so, I guess every new beginner can learn things wrong the first time sometimes.
Yeah.
So, I did learn to play a lot of it wrong. And then when I met Sean at White Peaks, he gave me a really hard time about the way I was doing my C doublings.
He gave you a hard time? That doesn't sound like Sean.
And so he and then Zach and also Don, all together, I guess, they all got me on the right track of fixing my problems.
They straightened you out, huh?
Yeah.
And what, so Clay, did he keep, you kept playing you played in the high school band with Clay, right?
I actually think he graduated that year.
Oh, did he graduate?
So the year I started, he was no longer in it. Or
Man,
for just a very short amount of time.
either I'm really old or you're just a spring chicken. I knew Clay when I was a kid, actually. I was only 11, maybe 10 or 11, I don't know, maybe 12 years old. And we did a community, Petite Neat there where White Peaks would play.
Mm-hmm.
There was a community, children's theater there.
Yeah.
And I did Alice in Wonderland. I was the Mad Hatter. Greatest role of my life. Started on a high point.
Fits.
And Clay was he was the March Hare. So we sang, Twinkle Twinkle and stuff like that together. So now I'm thinking well, Clay was a year or two younger than me. But then Clay was a couple years older than you.
You're an old man, man.
I'm so old. I thought we were the same generation, but frick, I'm just an old geezer. And so you played with the high school band. Did you play with the high school band until you graduated, or did you just go straight to playing with White Peaks?
I played for 2.5, halfway through my senior year, I quit and went to White Peaks, full time.
Yeah. And when you were playing at the Payson band, was Diana running it by then, or was Carrie still running it?
I was still Carrie. Bless her soul.
Bless her soul.
I feel so bad.
Were you also a monster to Carrie?
Yeah, we were all monsters.
Well, that makes me feel even worse that it wasn't like I was this momentary terror, but then she had a nice time before and after me. I get the impression that Sean was terrible before I got there, and you were terrible after I left. We all just put Carrie through a lot. Her husband's like in the government now.
Yeah, I saw that. I was very surprised.
I hope he doesn't have access to any sort of like public or private records or anything that he can now seek out vengeance against all of the little turds that gave his wife a hard time when she was running the high school pipe band.
He's surprised. This is the second time he's surprised me. I guess he was the Japanese teacher at Salem High School.
Oh, I didn't hold that piece of information present in my mind, but now that you say it, I think I did hear that.
And so that was like, oh wow, I never knew.
Yeah.
And then now he's
I'd only ever met him like at, like pipe bass, that kind of thing. So, what, like, was it just Clay saying like, "Hey man, you should come play bagpipes"? Did you encounter anything like? Did you see the Wicked Tinkers play, or, did something inspire you, or were we just like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it"?
No, I was just Clay. I didn't actually know about, I don't know, like rock and roll bagpipers.
Yeah.
Until I met Zach and he was giving me CDs.
So when did Zach, what did Zach first start introducing you to? What stuff stood out to you?
Gordon Duncan was the first and probably the most prevalent.
Yeah, that makes
that
sense.
He just consistently went back to. And then Vale of Atholl pipe band. Wait, yeah, they're from Australia, right?
I think so. Yeah, I know
That-
there's
so that
definitely
band.
a popular Vale of something from Australia.
And then
Oh yeah, that's right. It is Atholl because it always sounds like you have a lisp and you're saying a swear word, and that feels so Australian to me.
and him and Don got me into SFU. Or maybe no. That's a lie. Go back.
Yep.
Corey Young.
Na.
Corey Young, who I feel like, if he listens to this, I hope I don't hurt his feelings by saying this. I don't feel like he was my bagpipe mentor. I feel like he was like my life mentor.
Oh well, you're probably not. He's such a good guy. I bet you're not even the only one. He's like
And
a
so
guru.
I remember sitting in his car, multiple times. So one of the times Michael Swan was there.
Yeah.
And he was showing us some soundtrack of the Worlds, and it
Corey was showing you, or Mike was showing you?
Corey was showing,
Yeah.
You guys got to listen to this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so we're sitting in his brand new Dodge Charger,
Yeah, I remember that car.
listening to bagpipes, and it was St. Lawrence O'Toole, which was awesome. And then I was looking them up on YouTube, and I found Simon Fraser University Pipe Band, and I was like their biggest fan. I was sold. This is what bagpiping is.
And that was that in your second year of playing pipes?
Yeah. So I'm 17, and I'm just like, I'm going to move to Canada. I'm going to play with
Yeah.
Simon Fraser University Pipe Band. This
Yeah.
is my goal. And so I was all in. And then Zach, for his final kind of big, this is a band, you should listen to them, it was Field Marshal Montgomery.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with them, but by this time I had lost the urge to
Moved to Canada.
move anywhere.
Do you remember? Was that about the time that Field Marshall's Ascension album was coming out?
Probably.
Yeah. I feel like that would line up about right. That was a great album. I think. Oh boy. Now I'm nervous. I gotta quickly Google that. That was Field Marshal, right?
Well, I'm feeling weird because this is supposed to be about bagpipes, and I really just I'm partially my mind is blank, but partially I just don't remember.
Well, nah. It's about bagpipes. It's also about you.
Oh, that's... Everyone hang up now. I have to listen to this.
What maybe I'm trying to Google it now. Maybe I got the title of that album wrong. Jeez. What other stuff other than bagpipes takes up your energy and concentration and focus and time and interest?
I watch a lot of woodworking videos.
Yeah.
I'm a very boring man,
No,
James.
not at all. You recently introduced me to that YouTube channel that basically is just like ambient woodworking noise from a shop in Japan. It's freaking awesome.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
if you want to learn anything about woodworking, or if you want to watch someone who can make you feel like you can do anything, but then realize you would never be able to do this, it's Shitani Furniture. It's this man from Japan who just films himself making furniture with hand tools and a few electric tools, and it's amazing. That's how boring I am. See, no one's listening now. They're like, what?
Talk me through some more of your piping history. So after you started playing with White Peaks, what did you do with them? Where did you travel at all with them?
We went to... So I had barely missed... They went to Queen Mary, and I barely missed that. But then after that, the only kind of place they ended up going was Wyoming to the Jackson Hole games. I think I went there twice. And then all the Utah games. So I didn't go a lot of places, but... Yeah, there's no but, that's it.
Well, here's a but. I'll
You're
leave
a
it
butt.
in so that I am a butt. I'm a butt in every way, especially because I thought that Field Marshal Montgomery had come out with an album called Ascension. It was actually SFU that came out with an album called Affirmation. So I have no idea. What's a bagpipe? What is
You're
a
calling the
bagpipe?
future, man.
Yeah, that's
Just
it.
wait.
They will come out with an album. That's right. So after you've been playing with White Peaks for a minute, you left the country.
Yes. I went to Taiwan on my mission.
Taiwan. How many bagpipe bands do you have in Taiwan?
There's one in Hong Kong. Oh, so in Taiwan, I wasn't allowed to take my bagpipes, both because my mom was like, you have to focus, but also because, well, that was it. My mom said, like, you have to focus, so no bagpipes. And so I had kind of given up hope that I was going to see bagpipes in Asia. And this guy from one of my wards was just like, out of the blue.
That's for anybody who's not aware, the word would be like the church congregation.
Yeah, so
The
this
parish, as it
were. The missionaries are just kind of sent to an area a certain amount of time, and so I'm in this new area, and this guy in Taiwan just happens to be like, "Hey, I looked you up on Facebook. I own a pair of bagpipes, or a pair. I don't know you. I own a set of bagpipes. Can you teach me?" And so what ended up happening was for a couple of P-days, I took his pipes and I just tried to get them set up.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're probably Pakistan pipes.
Yeah, I was going to ask if
But then
they're set or not.
I was like, here's a bunch of emails that I can remember. You should try contacting these people. I don't think he ever did. But yeah, so in Asia, there are random people with bagpipes.
Yeah. Made you popular with at least one guy, huh?
Yeah, and like I said, the Hong Kong has a pipe band, which I guess makes more sense because of England.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was pretty weird to learn that.
Mm-hmm. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you and I had ever met before you came back from Hong Kong, from what, Singapore? No, what?
Malaysia?
Taiwan. From Taiwan.
Yeah,
right.
Taiwan.
Blah, blah, blah. I don't think you and I had ever met before you came back from there. In fact, I think I remember the first time that we met. I think.
I don't think we met, but I did. I knew who you were.
Well, our mutual friend Zach, of course, right?
Of course.
I think that the first time that you and I met, I remember very clearly being at, I think it was one of the Craft Lake City DIY festivals, where, I think the year before, while you were still in Singapore, Zach and I, Singapore, man, I can't keep.
It's all the same, man.
It's gonna make me look like such an ignorant, under-traveled, while you were still in Taiwan, Zach and I had started doing that to try to get together some money to start the Garden Valley Pipe Band. To pay for the 501c3 papers and stuff like that, the incorporation papers and all that. And so I think it was our second year doing that. I just remember you walking up. I think your dad gave you a ride there because you were fresh back, so you didn't have a car yet or anything like that. And you came walking up, and did you got to help me remember this, because I think that you showed up and then your pipes hadn't been out really since you'd left 2 years before, and you popped them open and you were missing a blowpipe or something.
Yeah, the blowpipe was gone. I think I had borrowed these from. Were they mine? Or did I borrow them from Zach?
Maybe it was a borrowed set. Maybe that was the problem, and he had brought them.
But he would just show up, and then so the blowpipe's missing. And we were searching for a place to buy one.
That's right, because there's that Edinburgh Castle shop that's in downtown Salt Lake that sells like Scottish memorabilia and like really expensive tartan ties, and we're like, do they have bagpipe supplies? Maybe.
I don't remember like, if I went or I just went with like my dad or whatever. Or maybe that. I don't know. I just remember we looked up the address on Google, and it was like absolute wrong place, not even like, near where we were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it was like this sketchy rundown, like drugs probably in the back room type of place.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
so the kind of place we would have been going after the event anyway, right? So. But that
remember
that would
how
have been,
we solved that.
Oh, go ahead. You don't remember? Because I don't remember either.
Maybe we just like.
We did play, so we
did
must
we
have
all
done
play
something.
together?
I think we did. I might be remembering the year after though too. Did we do it again the next year? I can't even remember now.
I don't know.
But that was the beginning of the Soggy Scots.
Well, the beginning of the trio of the Soggy Scots.
Oh, okay. Nope.
I kind of wormed my way in there.
Yeah, I'm trying. Well, nah. That's where it started, man. It wasn't Soggy Scots until you showed up. Oh, that's fair. I guess that Zach and I had used that name once in high school. We went and played like a New Year's Eve event once and used that name, but that was all. You're the lifeblood of the Soggy Scots, Kevin. You and Sasquatch.
Well.
So a lot of people in Garden Valley Pipe Band know you personally, either because they played with you at White Peaks before, they've known you around other places, or because they played with you at Garden Valley Pipe Band. But there are going to be some people in Garden Valley Pipe Band who know you only by name, because you're like you are currently like a mysterious shadow government figure, pulling strings from the background, rarely emerging into the light.
I kind of like that, you know.
What you've been aspiring to all your life.
It's what Zach prepared me for.
Yeah, you've been a Padawan and now you've become a master. But you were there at the beginning of setting up Garden Valley Pipe Band.
Yeah, I remember. Well, there was a couple of times. I remember Zach was like, "Hey, meet me at Sarah Park. We're having a meeting with a bunch of people." And then like
Did
Susan
he tell
was
you what
there.
about?
Not really. He just
Yeah.
said come. And so I showed up, and then he explained, they're like, we want to start this band. And then nothing really came of it until about a year and a half later to the other meeting where you were there and there was a bunch of other people.
Yeah, that was what we did at my house, right? In my living room.
Probably.
Probably.
I don't remember.
And that was when our intention at that time was to name it the Bob Ross Memorial Pipe Band.
Yeah. I wish we could have.
Oh, me too. The intention was like remember Zach had so many great ideas. We were, instead of wearing hats, because what was it? Did WUSPBA make a rule that you had to be wearing some sort of headwear?
Yeah.
And we thought that was kind of silly. And
Yeah.
so Zach was like, "Oh, we'll just wear a bunch of visors or something." Then he was like, "Wait, we'll be the Bob Ross Memorial Pipe Band. We could wear fake afros."
Yeah, I remember this
instead of
conversation.
Glengarry's. Such a good idea. And then we were gonna put either Bob Ross's face or like a painting of him doing a painting on the bass
On the
drum head.
drum.
Yeah. But in case any band members aren't aware, that's why. So the Bob Ross family wouldn't allow us to use his likeness, and so instead Zach proposed the name the Garden Valley Pipe Band. I think, if I remember right, it's because the Provo Orem area previously had been known as Garden City or something like that, but it was Utah Valley. And
See, I remember talking to you and James
I am
Zach
James.
about this.
Yeah, what was it? I don't remember exactly.
A year after that, and the way I remember it is completely different.
Oh, tell me what you remember.
What you guys are going with. And so, what I remember, I don't know if I want to make this public. So, what I remember is like, hey, because we're all kind of, well, no, I won't say that. There was a lot of feelings about White Peaks,
Oh, sure. A lot of people who had been playing with White Peaks came and played with Garden Valley, and I was stressed about that. I called Don several times on the phone just to be like, "Hey, man, we don't want this to be awkward or weird. Let people play in both bands, like whatever." Yeah.
And so just what I remember was like, well, let's do the polar opposite of White Peaks, and it's Garden Valley.
Oh, I do remember talking about that. Yeah, it's like White Peaks, and like, well, if peaks are one thing, let's do a valley. That's right. You're right.
And so we were kind of the nega the Nega White Peaks band.
Yeah. But though just calling ourselves Nega White Peaks wouldn't have looked really great, right?
Probably not the thing we were going for.
Yeah, definitely not. Especially because so much of the focus was supposed to be like, let's just get along with everybody. Let's be friendly. Let's be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a difficult, kind of awkward beginning for sure. Which I wonder if, like, to some degree, maybe that's necessary for any group to come into existence where other groups already exist. But I hope it's all water under the bridge and nobody holds any hurt feelings, because
the bagpiping world is weird, man.
It is weird, yeah. Let's all just get along, especially because
Indeed.
we're like, in general, we're kind of an endangered species. Let's just all love each other and try to get more, not worry about feuding and fighting.
I'm imagining Attenborough, like, doing a commentary.
Oh, man,
and now you see the endangered bagpiper. Look as he, I don't know,
Yeah,
toots his horn.
There could be something like one of nature's greatest mysteries. Here's my terrible British accent. The piper, the creature who he hates most, is also the one on whom he depends for survival. The drummer. Constantly tip-tapping on everything in reach. and in like fashion, the drummers nearly dead with boredom while the pipers tune up. And yet, how can they survive without each other?
Piper, bag playing a mating call so erroneous that even he walks away from himself.
If anybody makes this, we don't require credit. We just want to watch it. Just let us know so we can enjoy it. So but that is why Garden Valley's logo is a tree, and our little tagline is Crane Shona, which we think, at least according to Google Translate, is like Old Irish for little trees or happy little trees. So we still tried to do a nod to Bob Ross.
Definitely.
And if you look closely, in a lot of the sheet music that Garden Valley uses, if you look closely, there will be a quarter note or an eighth note somewhere in the music where the black dot has been replaced with a teensy tiny image of Bob Ross himself.
Really? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I've been sneaking them in. Every time I type set a set, I always sneak in a Bob Ross here or there.
That's brilliant.
Because you can get it with his afro. You posterize it so it's all black and white. You can get it to where if you're not looking close, it just looks like, the printer kind of didn't do a great job. But, you can tell what the note is. If you look really close, if you know what you're looking for, it's Bob Ross smiling up at you.
I mean, as much as I like this, I think you should bleep this out, because that's just amazing.
Just
I don't want
hide
people to know.
Well, that's something Zach and I used to do stuff like that when we were in high school. We would sneak in, like in between the lines on the staff of music, we would sneak in insults to band members. Usually it was Justin Moody, because he was a good friend, and so we knew he wouldn't get too mad, but we'd write in little, made up things about how he smelled funny or something like that, And actually, years later, when Diana had viola, she needed somebody to substitute for the pipe class there at the high school, and I had a really flexible job at the time, so I just hurried and went and got like a one-day training at the local substitute teacher's place so I could go sub for her, and I don't remember which tune it was, but one of their marches, I think it was a march anyway, they pulled out their music for it, and there was still an insult to Justin in the, it'd now been Xeroxed many times, but it was still there. That made me feel good.
I just imagine, like, that we have the band has the original somewhere, like in a case.
Right,
like,
under glass.
Yeah.
So what, I know that you explore other kinds of music. What kinds of music appeal to you?
This is not a good conversation. I love stuff.
Amen, brother.
I can't say that, like, oh, I like this artist, I like this genre. I just kind of gather songs for the most part. I mean, there are things like They Might Be Giants is my go-to forever. They just kind of speak to my soul. Mm-hmm. I love...
Have you made a little birdhouse in your soul?
You could say there is a little birdhouse in my soul. I love, like, what is it? I'm looking at my Spotify right now.
Yeah, while you look at it, I'll thank you in public so that it's public record for introducing me to Wookiefoot. And there's a bagpipe tie in there. Yeah, because they've got several tunes that have bagpipes in them, and you introduced me to that Only Visiting. That was the first tune that you showed to me. Man, I love that song. And from there, I love Okay. Honestly, they have like 3 or 4 albums that I absolutely love. There are a few albums I'm like, well, this is okay, but like it doesn't quite speak to me in the same way. But Wookiefoot has like informed my worldview in a lot of ways, and I've introduced my siblings to them, and my siblings love it. You know, like it's kind of like Over the Garden Wall. You are spreading various little gospels here, Kevin.
Yeah, I love Wookiefoot because it 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 connects with my I would say my faith, honestly. Like it really speaks to like what I believe we should be as people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like there's a little bit of hippiness, but then there's bagpipes, and then there's a little bit of rap, and then there's a little bit of
A little
like
bit of
it's just
banjo, too.
like a ton of everything
Yeah.
stuffed into this beautiful little package. And like not every song is a hit, but like they're still pretty good.
Yep.
I'm looking at my Spotify. You know, I like Cake.
Oh, sure.
I like Carbon Leaf.
I thought the next thing was gonna be like cranberries or some other food. You know. I like cake.
Like ice cream.
What are we
Like,
talking
wait,
about here?
this is a shopping list.
This ain't Spotify.
The Aquabats. That's some ska.
I am gonna get us in with the Aquabats. For real.
That would be sick.
Yeah, I'm gonna get us in. We're gonna play pipes with the Aquabats before we die, Kevin.
I want to be on the TV show, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get in there.
Playing bagpipes for the Aquabat show. Let's do it.
Yep, my wife's aunt has a connection to their manager up in northern Utah.
Oh, yeah, you had said that.
Yep.
It's
We're gonna get in there.
just like I love the Minecraft soundtrack. I love the Terraria soundtrack.
Mm.
I love the Halo soundtrack on here.
Mm.
Got Jim Croce, is that how you say his name?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Like I can't say that like I know anything about him or his music. I just like remember it's nostalgia. Like remember my parents listening to this,
Oh, sure.
and now when I listen to it, I'm just like I'm a kid again, you know.
I'm very frequently surprised, Kevin, by how, and I know that I've remarked to you about this like back across the years. Like so often you'll say something or you'll bring something up and I'll be like, "What? I didn't know you when I was a child, but somehow we had the same childhood." Like, are we the same person? You know, like you'll like reference Prairie Home Companion, or just the other day you brought up The Quiet Man. I was like, I just watched that yesterday. You're like, I'm watching it right now. I'm like, what? Are we the same person? What is this?
Hey man, could be. I feel like I've got this. I'm not going to get into this. This is the wrong podcast for it.
Maybe Zach had a friend type, huh? Like maybe Zach just only wanted to be friends with people that were the same person.
I mean, hey,
That's not true. He had a lot of friends, of course. But.
the time that me and Zach became really good buddies is when you were gone, so I could be the replacement.
So, but then
I'm
the
happy
question
to be the replacement.
were you the upgrade to James, or were you the placeholder?
I think a good match. I like my last one's here. I got a Muppets album on my Spotify.
Oh, I love that stuff. Heck yeah,
Got the album for Secret Life of Walter Mitty, my favorite movie.
that's a really good movie. Yeah.
I got Cascade, Queen. Yeah, that's my music.
So
And then Over the Garden Wall, of course.
oh man, of course. If anybody listening to this, it has nothing to do with bagpipes. But if anybody who's listening to this has not seen Over the Garden Wall, my goodness, it'll change your life.
Like I'd say anybody listening to this that hasn't seen it, it is more important than bagpipes. That's how good it is.
You know, if it was anything else, I might stop you. But yeah, you might be right. I know for sure. That
And I'm not saying that's because bagpipes are like lower. I'm
No,
saying
no.
that is how good it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for sure that Jeff is aware of it because they carved their pumpkins into Over the Garden Wall characters this year. And
Yeah,
I suspect that has
that
to do with Lizzie's
really
interest in
surprised me.
animation.
Put a smile on my face.
Yeah, I love that too. So what about other media? What else do you consume? Stuff that you like. Be it books, audiobooks, games, movies.
Oh my gosh.
What's your jam?
My jam is be a really boring person. I like.
It's only boring to you because you're used to yourself. The rest of us find you a fascinating specimen.
I love Bob's Burgers. That's like the
me
one
too.
that comes to mind that I'm like, yeah, I watched this.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just like, like WandaVision's on, so we're watching that, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But Bob's Burgers for sure, Adventure Time. Besides TV, I love Welcome to Night Vale podcast.
Mm.
I love Judge John Hodgman's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I love this podcast.
Yeah. I wasn't waiting for it, but I kind of was.
I don't spend a lot of time really doing anything these days.
No, that's not true. Didn't you just barely build a rocking chair?
Oh, well, I'm refinishing a rocking chair for Zach's mom. I wish I built it. That'd be cool.
But you are building shelves, right?
Oh, and I built shelves down here.
Some people might not know that you and I live in the same house. So
Oh, yeah.
we live in the same house so that I can be your bagpipe maintenance slave, right? That's the arrangement that we made, right?
I needed somebody.
So we do. It is separated. Like, we don't enter through the same doors or anything, but we are perhaps more aware of some aspects of each other's lives than we ought to be. It's like, my children keep you awake at night. I know that you've been building shelves. You know, that kind of stuff.
I spend most of my free time. Well, I guess maybe I do. I like to cook, so
Yeah,
I'd say
that's
like
true.
when I get off work.
Yeah.
I never really counted it as my hobby, but I guess it is. I like learning about cooking, and so I spend a long time like preparing dinner.
Yeah.
But that also takes a lot of time of doing other stuff. So I don't really do anything most days. Like, I just cook, and then I'll watch some Netflix, and then I'll go to bed.
Now, I know I've had some foods that you've made, and I know that they're good, but I also know that you like to experiment sometimes.
Yes.
And experiments are what they are. You know, sometimes it turns out great, sometimes it doesn't. So I don't mean this. Don't take this in any offensive way. It's not offensive. I just think it's funny that at this point, around between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock, if we get any weird smells upstairs, we no longer wonder right now. Where it's just like, oh, Kevin's trying something new. like for a little while, it was like, what is that? We got to figure this out. Where's this coming from? But now it's like, no, Kevin's just making a new soup or something.
Totally.
Now, you made that YouTube video where you just did some beautiful imagery set to Lorient Mornings by I almost said Fred Morrison. Oh, a pox upon me. By Gordon Duncan. Don't get me wrong, both amazing. Just I often confuse the two of them just because they're both amazing.
One has a lot more hair.
That's one easy way to keep them separated. Yeah. But how many views does that YouTube video have now?
I haven't checked. The last time I checked, it was like 150,000 or something.
So what is it? What do you think it is about bagpipes that what kind of people love it? Why do we love it? What part of our soul is? Because you started playing, it seems to me, kind of nonchalantly, but you're now stuck in this world. So what do you think it is? What is it about us who like bagpipes?
Well, a similar question is what is it about Scottish culture?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just not paying attention, but I feel like when somebody is like, I'm Scottish, there is an intensity that you do not get for other, like me. I'm Dutch. I don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. But Scottish people are like, I'm going to buy the kilt.
Right.
I'm going to go to the
You don't
festival.
own any wooden shoes, do you? Or
No.
Maybe you do.
I'm going to do I'm in 100%. And everybody has to know. Mm-hmm. I've got the stickers on my car. And I don't know what it is.
I wish that I had better awareness about culture to know if it was that way before Braveheart came out. I honestly wonder. I don't mean to cheapen that at all, because I think it's great to be, be proud of your heritage and stuff like that. But yeah. I do wonder to what degree, what kind of weird cultural soup has to be mixed up to make that kind of pride sort of swim to the surface.
A similar thing, right now, Norse stuff is really popular.
It is, yeah.
But guess, also, there's the Vikings show.
Right.
There's the Assassin's Creed Vikings game.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of media around this. And so that could be what's kind of pushing that intensity, too.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if other shows, too, what's the big one right now? Highlander.
Or Outlander.
That's what I meant, Outlander. I mean, Highlander, that was when I was a kid. That was that cool action flick. But
I think they are doing a new Highlander, too.
Are they?
So.
I remember liking that. I think I'd be into it. I heard there was more than one film though, and I heard that they weren't as great toward the end. I think I only ever saw the first one.
What was your original question?
Why do we like bagpipes? What is this? And you broadened it to Scottish culture, which I agree is look, maybe this is going too far, but you tell me. Maybe I have to edit this later, but I did have a weird experience once, not that long ago, at the Payson Scottish Festival. Like, I think that those of us who are in pipe bands and stuff, we probably encounter this so much that maybe the romance of it remains, but maybe it wears off just a little bit. Like, at some point, once the 500th person walks up to you and says, "Oh, I'm Scottish," at least here in Utah, it's like, "Are you? Are you really?" Like, or do you mean that one of your many great grandpas was from Scotland? And and that's cynical and mean of me. It's only when I'm at my worst that I really think that way. But I was sitting at a Scottish festival and just looking around, and I've got it's like this weird blending of like real culture and like fantasy. It's a little bit like Comic-Con sometimes.
Yeah.
And just thinking about just musing on it, just like what is this? What is happening? What are we doing? Like why? Not in a critical way, just like thinking about it. Like what is this? It's kind of this funny weird thing. Because as a piper, you kind of focus on the competitions. But if you ever get a chance to just sit down and eat some of that fair food and just look around, it's like, well, what is going on here? Well, probably safest to not dive too deep into that in like a recorded format, but it is. Yeah. Edit this. But it does seem funny. It's like what's this combination of like both having an environment in which it's perfectly acceptable, and also an environment in which it's like cool as well for the people who are doing it. Like they want to do it. They put their money and their time and their energy into it.
I would like to know how many, like, let's say there's 100,000 of these people, and they're all exactly the same as far as their enthusiasm for Scotland. How many of them are enthusiastic about like reality Scotland, and how many of them are enthusiastic about, like you were saying, kind of the fantasy of fairies and I don't know, dragons and all that.
Yeah. Or even less obvious fantasy. Like there are a lot of people who go to these Scottish festivals who would be very upset if you were to suggest to them like William Wallace probably didn't wear a kilt. Like what they perceive as real history, but it's actually fantasized.
That
and
would
maybe
be
precisely because of things like the movie Braveheart.
Do you think there's studies about this?
We need funding, and then we'll start studying.
Episode 42. Get ready, people.
Okay, let's start studying now. Well, what about you? What kind of keeps you interested in it? Or do you feel like you're just trapped in it and now you can't get away?
I don't want to be a bummer, but I do feel really trapped by it. And I don't want to say that I don't enjoy... I'm thinking about what I'm saying.
No worries.
I
can cut out pauses as well as I can cut out mistaken words, so don't worry about it.
You might want to keep the pauses in so it sounds like I'm thinking about what I'm saying.
Yeah. You don't just like, wow, he was ready to give that answer.
I really like the band. I really like the people in the band. I really like being a competition circle. I think, for me personally, I've had enough crap happen, like in my life, that also be tied to piping.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes, whatever, that is like this kind of something I want to go away because I can't move on because I'm still. It's tied to emotional things. Then with singing, it's tied more to emotional things happening. Like when he was gone, once a week, it'd be like, "Hey, when are you gonna come play again?" And I feel like he was wearing me down. So I would have gone.
Yeah.
Actually, like in the next couple of years, probably. And when he left, I'll say that. I don't really. What is there for me,
Yeah.
And so that's a really. I was worried about this podcast because that's really all I have to say about it. Like, long story short, it's all just kind of piled onto that same kind of feeling of I don't feel like there's a place for me in this. And so I didn't want to be a bummer.
Well, I don't think it's a bummer now, and I think it makes sense. I mean, I feel like I've experienced it to some degree myself too. That like I did wonder, shortly after Zach left, that like, will I ever play again? I mean, like I started playing with him. We were friends before we started playing, and then together we were like, hey, let's play bagpipes. It's like he's been a constant throughout. So like, what is bagpipes without him? It's the two things have never been separated before. and like also I wondered like, is going back to band, is the strongest overriding emotion going to be a negative one of absence, instead of something positive?
I think you expressed that better than me.
Well, I got to listen to you first. That's my strategy here. I'm gonna make you muddle through something, and then I'll do my own edited version. But what you said does resonate with me, that I also love the people that are in the band, and I do feel like that's kind of been the thing I've been clinging to, is like community. Even when I was younger, it was much easier to get swept away by sort of the fantasy, of Scotland and by which I mean mythologized Scotland, probably not often a very realistic Scotland in my own mind as a child, and it was easy to get kind of swept away by the romance of that and be excited about that. And today, like sometimes, I do love music and I do like playing and stuff like that. So there's plenty there, but the main thing is the community, for sure. That it ends up being the people who I directly know. That's the main thing for me right now, for sure. Now, how do you feel about pineapple on pizza?
I love pineapple on pizza.
Now, I do too.
With one exception, Hawaiian pizza is disgusting.
Oh, really?
And no one should eat Hawaiian pizza.
All right, go into detail on this. I'm confused.
Well, I can't say I hate ham, because like if you do a spiral ham, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But like Canadian bacon or whatever, it's gross. Like I don't want that. And then the tomato sauce, like no bueno. But if you make barbecue sauce pizza, pineapple is delicious on it. And chicken and bacon. Yeah. That's like the best pizza.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because definitely my favorite way to do pineapple on pizza is with bacon and jalapenos. That's for me. That's the way I like it. I like that spicy sweet combo.
I feel like a lot of people, when I talk to them about food, maybe it's an American thing, maybe it's just people in general, I feel like we're ready to just kind of say yes or no. There's no middle ground. Yeah. And I feel like every ingredient has a place. Like,
philosophize with me. Give me some depth on food, master. Senpai, teach me.
Like, when I cook curry, sometimes I'll put peanut butter in it. And I have an in-law who thinks that's absolutely disgusting. And if he ever hears that I put peanut butter in anything I cook, he won't eat it. But like, I get the thought process. Like, why would you put peanut butter in this soup stuff? But to me, like, the flavor that you're looking for, it's not about like the objects you're putting into the food. It's like, what are they adding to the you're asking me to philosophize, and I have no good words.
No, this is working really well. You are opening my mind, honestly. Keep going.
It's all about, like, kind of like with music, harmony. You have this main melody. I can't think, melody. Yep. And then you add these other little things, and you can have like a one harmony, or you could have a 3-part harmony. And so everything, like, I know people that are like, I hate mushrooms, I'm never gonna eat mushrooms, that's disgusting. And I've had mushrooms, and I'm like, this is really gross. The texture is really soggy, and why would you want to eat this? But then, like, I've had that same mushroom crispy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is delicious. Add a little sesame oil and some butter, and we're in business. And so, like, everything, I don't think when you come to pizza, you should be thinking no good. I should be open-minded about everything you put in your mouth.
Yeah, this is honestly, Kevin, this is deep. This is beautiful. It's like you're opening my mind to this idea that, like, a component, is that the word? A single ingredient. Yeah. All by itself, you can't let that define the dish. That one thing by itself is not the whole of the completed meal. It's adding to it, And so if you're looking at a curry and going, that's gross because it's peanut butter, and also I wonder if this person's hang up with peanut butter might just be that their cultural experience with peanut butter is exclusively peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and so it seems weird to combine it with curry.
And then I wonder if they expect that this is going to taste like peanut butter because there's peanut butter in it.
So you think it's just like a peanut buttery soup?
Yeah, which is gross.
It would be gross, yeah. To be fair, that would be gross, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe some people would like it, but to me, that does not sound great. But yeah, it's like, and this is so you could apply this to anything. You can apply this to people, to organizations like pipe bands, even. It's not about the one ingredient. It's about what you're building together. What comes out at the end.
Absolutely. Which is, let's go back. Let's backtrack a little bit with what I said previously.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for this band and my relationship with it, I don't foresee myself playing anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see myself continuing to do what I have been doing, which is a lot of marketing material, helping, at least when you were marketing president, ideas, how we can push the band forward. Because I feel like the overarching feeling about bagpipe bands is that there are players and you're either drummer or piper. But this organization has to be bigger than that to grow.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'm totally happy being in the background, that shadow, as you said.
Yeah.
Because, it needs those parts.
It does, yeah. I can't remember. Maybe it was on the Chanaram podcast. Somebody recently was talking about and now, of course, I'm going to mess up and say it's the wrong band. I don't remember if they were talking about Simon Fraser or Bog Hall or Kudu, but they were talking about one of the big bands and just talking about how, like, in that organization, the people who play the instruments, but they don't necessarily also do the marketing, the back end stuff of making emails work, the writing grants, doing
the catering,
yeah, all of this stuff. Where sometimes out of necessity, if you've got a small group, you just kind of look around at the 6 people around the table, and you're like, well, who will take care of our finances? Well, I guess I will, and who will take care of our marketing? Well, I will, But the idea is that, like, you can build a community that has a lot of people participating in it who aren't necessarily picking up sticks or a set of pipes to play in the competition circle. And all of these ingredients together make a far more robust meal at the end, or dish, than would be if you only had the pipers and drummers.
Good local example of that is Wasatch District.
The magical behemoth that all of us aspire to be.
Like, when I think about pipe bands, and they could take this, I hope they take this as a compliment if they're listening. I know Michael is. What was I thinking?
Organization.
I don't think of them as like a bagpipe band.
Mm-hmm.
I think of them as a company.
Yeah.
And they move forward like that,
Yeah.
Like this, as you say, a behemoth.
They are, man. They are massive and growing, it seems.
And I think it's because I'm not saying it's bad that if we don't. So again, I'm backtracking. It's because that they put in these people in the back to run the business, and then they have the people in the front playing the bagpipes or the drums.
That's that little bit of peanut butter that makes it taste delicious.
And so
maybe I've stretched the metaphor too far there.
I think we've talked a little too much all of this subject.
That's the parsley. That's the mushroom. I don't know. What? Now I'm just grasping for straws.
I feel like, Garden Valley, Utah Pipe Band, the bands that I feel, at least last time I saw them, aren't that big.
Well, none of them are as big as Wasatch. I mean,
yeah,
I think you'd have to go on the other side of the Mississippi to find a band as big as Wasatch.
What we're doing where it's pretty much like, if you have the skill, can you please do this on the side? It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But once you get into grade 1, like Simon Fraser University Pipe Band, they don't have time to be worrying about that. They need to get their music down.
Yeah. I wonder if part of it, I know that at least for me personally, part of it might also be that, like, I kind of imagine that, like, what we're doing is fun for us, because I'm playing an instrument, so it's fun for me. And, we make the background wheels run so that we can play our instruments. And I kind of, it's kind of subconsciously, but I think I'm becoming more conscious of it now. I kind of assume that nobody is ever going to want to do the back end stuff because it's boring. They wouldn't want to, you know? But I think that's wrong. I think people actually would be happy to do that kind of stuff because they also enjoy the community and like the vision and like the music and the culture, and they like getting together and they like contributing to a community project, you know, a group product. And maybe they don't really want to play bagpipes or drums, but they love to participate. And so my assumption that like, oh, you wouldn't want to keep our books, you know, that would be so boring for you. I might be completely wrong about that. Maybe there are people who would love to do that and thereby be a part of the band without having to, you know, pick up an instrument.
I believe it. I mean, you think about like high school band, like all the band moms.
Yeah, that's true.
They're committed. You think about. I just had a thought and I just lost it, James. It's gone.
Maybe if we meditate for a moment, it'll come back.
What's our mantra?
Let's say, how about if our mantra could be early ease?
Early ease.
Early ease. Early ease.
I don't know. Whatever. Nobody wants to hear this subject anymore.
All right. Well, in that case, I want to philosophize for me instead. I want to know how you can apply cooking terms. No, we've done the cooking terms. I'm thinking of something else. Well, what about within your own family? Who is your biggest fan when it comes to bagpipes? And do you have any family members who would rather you not play?
My mother.
Yeah, honestly, I was excited
my
when,
biggest fan.
like, that's kind of refreshing to hear because a lot of the people I've interviewed, it's been like, I really wanted to play, but my parents thought I was crazy. You know, it's like against all odds, I had to fight to get it. Whereas your mom was like, you got to do this. You should do this. You know, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and even now, it's just like when are you going to play again? When are you going to play again?
Yeah.
Like, all the time. And I don't think I had anybody in my family or like friends that were like, you should stop.
Yeah, at least not to your face, right?
But there were definitely neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I remember this story from listening to somebody else talk on your podcast. I was like, oh yeah, there was this guy that lived like 4 houses down, and he would like to go out into his driveway and he'd fix on his car. And every time I'd go out and play while he's doing this, he would make a big show of this. He would like slam his tools down as soon as I struck in, and he'd walk over to the front door and he'd slam it shut.
Just couldn't be out there with that
And yeah,
racket.
he could not handle it. And I was just like I've never, like I said, like everyone in my close circle is totally cool with it. I have neighbors like half a mile away that are like, hey, I haven't heard you play in a while.
Yeah.
But this guy just could not handle bagpipes.
All right, so there have been some people along the way then that would have rather you didn't.
I mean, I guess it's a good thing I didn't really know who he was.
Yeah. Now, I know that you picked up whistle too. Are you still playing whistle? I haven't heard you whistling down there in a while.
Nah, I kind of gave up. You got cooler than me, and so I stopped.
That's not true. I did recently get a whistle, but it's because I wanted to be cool like you. I don't play nearly as well as you do.
I mean, if anybody that actually plays whistle heard me, they'd be like, please stop.
I don't know, man. I've
But
heard
I
you
feel
playing some of
like-
the Fred Morrison stuff. You sound just like him.
I feel like I'm decent at taking bagpipe stuff and throwing it on the whistle.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that's part of the crossover why so many pipers play whistle, because it's like, well, I can just keep thinking in bagpipe language and it comes out okay. But didn't you recently pick up the guitar, or are you still considering it?
I don't want to say I picked it up. I have been.
I mean, you physically picked up a guitar.
trying
You can't
to
deny
teach
that.
myself guitar, just because it's COVID and we're home all the time and I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
And I feel like since I don't want to play bagpipes, and I didn't want to play whistle anymore at the moment, I needed something, and so I got this guitar. Mark Alger, this guy in our church congregation, he's a classical guitar teacher.
Mm-hmm. And he's very good. I have heard him play.
He's nice enough to be like, hey, if you have questions or if you want instruction, just come over. Obviously, because of COVID, that can't happen. So for now, it's just been me making up stuff and slowly kind of create a song.
Mm.
And then eventually I will definitely go take classes from him. But COVID kind of screwed everything
Well,
for everybody.
that it did, huh?
I mean, a lot of great things from it. Like, I'll be grateful right now because I don't want to sound like a whiner. But, overall, I feel like a lot of crap has happened too.
Nah, I don't think you'll be alone in thinking that way. It does suck. I think, I think you can look around and see a little bit of silver lining here and there, but, of course, taken in the context of, like, people dying, it's like, no, this pretty much just sucks.
Yeah, you're right.
So what about Star Wars? I don't think it's any mystery to anybody in the world that you've got a thing for Star Wars. When did that start, and what's the deal?
I mean, I've always watched Star Wars just as a kid. We had the VHSs, and I probably broke them from how much I watched.
Mm.
And then when I first got into reading, like...
You were like 17 at the time, right, when you learned how to read? Was that...
Yeah, you're 17 when I learned, yeah.
Is that about right?
Course.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I was like 14, 15. I've just started seminary. I'm trying to figure my way in this world of religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I started reading Star Wars books, and they just like everything about them. I have no idea. Like those people at Comic-Con that take something too seriously, and you're like, that's kind of weird. I feel that way about myself.
Yeah.
Because I
know
I know that this is a fantasy. It's just a story.
Yeah.
These people aren't real. But like the themes in the show just like speak to my faith 100%.
Yeah.
Like if I get to heaven and it's not the way of the Jedi, I don't know what's right.
You'll come cruising into Cloud City, man. You'll be cruising into Cloud City, and St. Peter will be sitting there in a Jedi robe. You're going to be very satisfied.
I mean, like, hey, for all the LDS people, this might be funny. I don't know. Moroni was wearing a robe. I'm sure he had a lightsaber on that.
You think he did, huh? Yeah,
just kidding. I don't think that. But Star Wars really, like, it is the only thing that feels constant. And that sounds so stupid. I am that guy at Comic-Con, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
but maybe more in your heart than
philosophically
at Comic-Con. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just things that I know are real, like real discussions, real problems. I can look at it through that lens, and it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, you come to my house, you probably won't know I'm into Star Wars. I have a few things.
You do have the Millennium Falcon hanging there.
Oh, I do. I forgot about that. Okay, yeah. I'm that guy at Comic-Con, guys.
Well, no. I mean, other people would definitely be... Like, you don't have shelves covered in action figures still in the original packaging or anything like that.
It's a normal-looking house, but in my heart, I believe.
In your heart, you do have unopened miniatures and things like that, right?
Absolutely.
No, I can totally relate to that, I'm also a person of faith, but I definitely, for a while I felt guilty about it, but after a while I was like, no, this is just, it's working for me, so I'm going to stick with it. For me, the medium is more Lord of the Rings. I can't tell you how many times I've walked out of my house and looked at Mount Timpanogos, and I know that it's a mountain called Timpanogos, it's not Erebor, but several times I have whispered under my breath, Erebor, as I look up at this mountain. I know it's not real, but it's the way I see the world, and I'm so much happier seeing the world through that lens.
And maybe this goes into a conversation that we're not smart enough to talk about, but like a lot of people nowadays, my friends especially, like my generation, a lot of video games.
Yeah, your generation, which I wouldn't understand because I'm so much older than you.
Our generation, the millennials. There's a lot of video games and stuff being played, and I feel like it's to kind of like create your own world because the one we live in is kind of craptastic. And so maybe it's related where we find
maybe it's a coping
solace, we find serenity in these fantastical places and in the fantastical people doing fantastical things.
Yeah.
And so to think of myself as a Jedi Knight makes it a little easier, even though I don't really think that. I'm that weird guy at Comic-Con, guys.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm sitting in my Jedi robes.
Yeah. Well,
in my recreated Death Star throne room.
Yeah. And I'm over here with an accurate model of Orchrist strapped to my side. So what about the name Scarfboy? Where did that get started?
So when I first started going to the White Peaks practices, I don't know how I can say this story without. If I ever say anything that's like I'm so cool or like I'm talking myself up, ignore it.
Dude, we already had Sean on the podcast. You're never gonna look in any way egotistical after Sean has been on the podcast, and he himself would be cool with me saying that, I'm sure. So don't worry about that.
So in ninth grade, I had a lot of friends that would get bullied, and so of course I'm gonna get bullied as well. But I'm not really the kind of person with an attitude that gives a crap about what you have to say. And so in ninth grade, I wore a cape and a lightsaber for the last half of every day to school.
Nice.
The last half of the year.
By the way,
to say,
episode title will be Kevin Doesn't Give a Crap.
Wow.
No, wait. Jedi Master Kevin Doesn't Give a Crap.
And so I did it to make a statement.
Yeah.
In sophomore year.
That's cool, though. It's like you were owning it, right? You were just like, yeah, this is me. Go ahead. You going to make fun of me? Like, here, I'll give you everything, all the ammunition you need.
Absolutely.
Because that takes away the bully's power.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I continued that in the sophomore year by wearing a scarf every day.
Mm.
And there was no scarf, there was no hair behind it. White Peak and met Susan, who is an angel, and she nicknamed me Scarfboy. And instead of kind of teasing me about it, I felt like she was just cool.
Yeah, Susan.
And so
cool.
I just kept it, and I've been Scarfboy ever since.
Mm. I don't know if I knew that Susan had started, not like kind of started calling you Scarfboy, but somehow intrinsically I knew it. Like, it seems like that is a Susan thing. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So that's been, I feel weird because I'm 29, but, my gamer tag is still Kevin Scarfboy.
It's time to change to Kevin Scarfman. You're now a Scarfman.
I mean, I've thought about that, but I'm keeping true to Susan's name, and I've continued the tradition.
Well, if you make it to old age and you're not Scarf Grandpa, then maybe by then you'll need to change it. But for now, you can probably keep Scarfboy. Old McScarfy. Well, cool. So now when people see your email address and stuff like that, Scarfboy, etc., now we know why.
Yeah, and if you really like it, you can thank Susan.
Everybody, send fan mail to Susan, thanking her.
In fact, I think you should all thank Susan just 'cause she's a good lady and deserves it.
That's the truth. Even if you haven't been lucky enough to try some of her incredible baked goods.
Oh my gosh,
she's
her,
talented,
her
right?
Posts,
oh man.
And there was a time where I would ask Susan to make stuff and she'd do it.
Yeah.
Now
she's got kids and stuff, so.
But now, I don't want to ask her because I feel like she would.
Yeah, she probably would.
And then
yeah.
I would just be even more fat.
I love the Great British Baking Show. Love it. But I honestly I've told my wife before, sweetie, if we could set up a camera in Susan's kitchen, I would watch Susan bake with the exact same amount of fandom as I watch the Great British Baking Show. Easily.
And you just edit what's his name, Noel?
Oh, absolutely. Noel Fielding would have he's a staple. Yeah. I wonder what it would take to get Noel Fielding to fly over here and just do an afternoon in Susan's kitchen.
He kind of seems like the guy that would just do it.
Yeah, I think he would. And then I'll dress up like Paul Hollywood and go stuff my pudgy finger into her delicious food and say it's somehow subpar.
The only thing that I think could make the Great British Bake Off even better is to get is it Richard Ayoade?
Yeah, you go ahead and try pronouncing his last name. I won't, but yeah, that guy.
Together.
Man,
you look up on YouTube. There's British comedians where they're on the same team in this game, and they are a hoot.
Those quiz shows, right?
Yeah.
Is the big fat quiz of everything, right?
before we go on, and assuming that you're going to cut me off pretty soon and just end the episode, I need to insert something here.
Insert it.
Michael, if you're listening, when you're making bacon pancakes, I would suggest investing in a bacon press, or if you don't have a bacon press, you can get crispy thin bacon by setting your oven to 425 degrees, putting a cooling rack on your like a cookie sheet with some tin foil, and put that bacon right on top. Cook it for like 8 to 12 minutes. You'll have really crispy, really flat bacon. And then when you're making the pancake, make your batter a little runnier than usual. When you put that bacon on top, you can then put some of that runny batter on top of it to cover the bacon. So when your guest or your wife, whoever is eating this delicacy, bites into it, they will be delighted to find that it has bacon inside.
So you bake your bacon, huh? Bacon.
I actually don't. I tried once and I set off my fire alarms.
You know, honestly, if Mike hasn't come across that yet, he might be very excited to hear, because I know that he loves crispy bacon. When I first met him, he was burning some bacon on purpose to make it crispy. So I know that this runs deep. Now, you know what I did once? I don't know if this is gross or not, but I was making waffles, and I wanted to make bacon waffles. And instead of adding oil to the batter, because, you know, usually you use a little bit of oil in waffle batter compared.
Bacon grease.
I used the bacon grease, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was delicious. It was so good.
Absolutely.
And all my in-laws loved it. And then I told them that I used bacon grease, and half of them were like, "Oh, that's disgusting." I was like, "You just said you loved it."
I mean, this is the thing, James. So when you have your bacon grease after you're cooking with it, you can get like a jar, and get a coffee filter, and just put it through the coffee filter.
Oh,
and it will solidify.
Dirty. Oh, yeah.
And so that fat solidifies, and then you can just like butter. You know, you take your knife, you take a little bit out and throw it in your pan, put it on your toast, whatever you want. And if you've strained it properly, it's not going to go bad.
That's that straining it thing. That makes sense, because usually you got all those little bits of burnt bacon in there, so yeah, it's all dirty and stuff. Ah, gotcha. Now, Kevin, I know it's been a minute since you went and played pipes, and maybe, you know, I'm not saying you should go out there and play tomorrow or anything, but I'm curious. Have you ever had like like when you were getting ready for a competition or a performance or something? Do you have any kind of pre-performance ritual that you would do? Check your uniform. I don't know. Meditate for a while. Like, what kind of stuff would you do to psych yourself up and get in the right frame of mind and get ready and stuff?
Well, the last time I did, I was in high school, and so this, I don't know if this is.
You have performed since then, though. I know. I mean.
Have
and Zach and I played a few things. Remember, we even went and did that thing, that march against domestic abuse up in, was that in Ogden or something?
I don't get nervous for that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's your secret. You don't get nervous
for soloing.
Ah, yeah, I see.
Like, soloing's a completely different beast.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm playing in front of people, I don't care.
But you get in front of somebody who knows what they're talking about, and they're judging you and stuff.
If I'm playing for a judge.
Yeah.
And so for that, it's just, I don't know, it's not special. I would just play through my set as role play, like as I was doing it. One thing that Zach would do often is he'd pretend to be the judge.
Yeah.
And then we'd like go through the whole thing, like walking up to him, giving the music, whatever. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I just do that, take it as seriously as possible.
And would he always try to make you crack and laugh partway through? Like,
yeah,
like a fart noise or something?
Time.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. Like when you're something that I would feel for myself, I'll just say. This might not help anybody. When I was getting ready to go like play for this judge, I feel like I kind of went through a thought of like I'm overconfident, and so I'm like, okay, I need to relax. And I need to not take this as seriously. It's going to be fine. Mm. But I feel like that could go completely the wrong way, where like you're too relaxed, you're not taking it enough seriously.
Yeah.
And so I think don't be like as concerned about I'm going to go get first. Just be confident in yourself being the player that you are. And like, don't worry about the places. I'll help you. Because like, if you're worrying about like that guy before me played really well, or it's not going to help you. And so, you know, you've practiced this music, you've marched in place in front of Zach or somebody, and you're just going to go do the best song that you can play. And if you win, you win. And if you don't, well, next time you're probably going to if you keep it up. Just don't be worrying about like the rank, like where you are, where all these other people are. Just play yourself. Be yourself. That's what I'm saying.
That's beautiful. I think that makes sense. I find that helpful just thinking about it myself. So just thinking like instead of it being like a football game where one team is going to win and one team is going to lose, think of it more like some track and field events where what you're going for is a personal record. You're just trying to
absolutely.
You're competing against yourself. That's it. And maybe not even competing against yourself. It's more like you're seeing what you can do. You are you. You're just there to play some music.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Now, it's probably about the right time to start fading it out. It's going to probably be about an hour long, so that's probably about right. Do you have?
Well, we're going to have the director's cut, right? That's like an hour longer.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Strap in, buddy. So, Kevin, this has been lovely. You and I, of course, will see each other as we walk back and forth to the garbage cans and things like that every day. But I'd love to talk again in a formal setting like this. So, formal, informal, whatever it is, for another podcast episode. Maybe just for episode 42, but maybe sometime before that too. It'd be great. But give us something beautiful to end on. Play me out here with some words of wisdom, would you?
I'll read some lyrics that have really stuck with me this last couple of weeks.
And this is from Wookiefoot?
Wookiefoot. Their song is Shangri-La.
Love that song.
And it's just, I'm going to make it and you're going to make it too. Because you got me and I got you.
I can see you get me to it. Only way we make it through. I got you. I got you. I got you, know that I got you. And I can see you get me to it. The only way we make it through to Shangri-La, Shangri-La.